So today I'm going to be talking about something that I've been doing for the last couple of days now. That's why I haven't made any videos, but I'm going to be talking today about Smogon and VGC, more particularly the rule formats for both sides. So the reason why is because I've been playing a lot of VGC, but I've also had a lot, and I do have a lot of tacticians, and I talk to a lot of people, especially sometimes during my streams, that sometimes ask what's the rule format. Is this like OUs or Ubers or whatever? And those are the people who play by Smogon's rule sets, and not particularly are, like they don't adhere to Smogon's philosophy like real heavy Smogonites, but more like the general consensus of like Pokemon that are allowed in certain tiers and formats, etc., that would not be allowed in certain other formats. But I play mostly VGC, which allows a lot of things, but at the same time a lot of what could be considered broken things or uncompetitive or favorable elements for battles. So during my readings and during my studying of Smogon's philosophies and trying to understand their rule formats and all these tiers and clauses, etc., it got me to reading up the Smogon philosophy once again, because I think I kind of skimmed through it. I just looked up I just read like the first paragraph and maybe half of the second before I started looking up banning clauses and Uber formats and the other tiers, etc. But reading through the Smogon philosophy and trying to understand why they do what they do, even though some people dislike them, myself included. I'm not a huge fan of Smogon, but I do understand, and I do I can kind of relate to what they are trying to do. There are certain things in Pokemon that just would not work in a very competitive scene. Like, for example, it talks about how they took formats from Pokemon Emerald's Battle Frontiers, stadiums, etc., and the Pokemon Stadium series, which had like various clauses and various rules formats for all the Pokemon to shine in. Like, for example, the Little Cup. Only Pokemon that were level 20 and pretty much under-evolved could participate in the Little Cup. I mean, obviously, it's a little more complicated now, but those were very interesting formats, and they actually gave Pokemon a chance to shine. Like, Pokemon that you would never, ever, ever use in a competitive team could actually shine in these weird off-branching formats. Like, for example, you would never want to use a Weedle if you could use the Beedrill. So that's what got me thinking about more of Smogon's philosophy and trying to once again understand why they do what they do. So I also read that they also took certain rules, etc., taught from like the Stadium series and into their banning clauses, etc. Because when they talk about banning clauses, like this one thread here from June 25th of 2015, the person says how most people when they ban something, it seems to go along the lines of someone saying that they don't like this, or they don't like this enough, and if enough people get behind them, then they actually can get it like banned, etc. But that also got me thinking, I did not like certain things during my Red and Blue days. Like the freezing mechanic from Red and Blue. I mean, if anyone has ever gone through Red and Blue and had their Pokemon frozen, especially in Stadium, that lasted forever. Seriously. I mean, I saw I think I saw it one time, like during a battle during like the Twitch Plays Pokemon series, like on Twitch, for example. During a Pokemon Stadium battle, I believe it was a Chansey or something, they got frozen by an Ice Beam. And it just stayed frozen for almost 30 turns. And it was just endlessly frozen, endlessly stuck that way. And I believe one of the rules from the Pokemon Stadium games says you can't freeze two Pokemon on the opponent's field. Like, I believe it was even coded that you could not freeze that. You could not freeze more than 2 at a time, or even, yeah, you could not freeze more than 2, or not even more than 2, just 2 flat out. If it was more, if it tried, it would not let you freeze the second Pokemon. So that is another thing that also got me, understanding Smogon and trying to figure out why they are the way they are. So we're now going into the tiers, and this is something I found very interesting. Certain moves and abilities are completely banned from every tier. So for example, Moody, Pokemon with the Moody ability aren't allowed. So Smeargle, you're not allowed in that if you have the Moody ability. So okay. So Fissure, Guillotine, Horn Drill, Sheer Cold, I can understand those one-hit KO moves. I mean, I do run a Ponyta team that all know Horn Drill, and a lot of people get frustrated because they're getting Horn Drilled by a Ponyta. But that was mostly just for me. That's mostly just for memes and giggles, etc. And the Swagger move, I'm like, why would people want to ban Swagger? But then I remember that Pokemon that can hurt themselves in confusion and can deal a lot of damage to themselves, especially physical attackers. They can pretty much explode on themselves if they get swaggered enough and hit themselves enough. So that's another thing that I can sort of understand, but at the same time, I think maybe the Swagger is a little bit too hard. The Swagger ban is a little bit too hard. Then, going into the Ubers tier, this is where I really wanted to go into. This is where I really was trying to figure out stuff and understand. And I'm seeing this Mega Rayquaza clause. Rayquaza is not permitted to Mega Evolve. So, we're still not allowed to use Mega Rayquaza? I can sort of understand why, because of the massive power boost Mega Rayquaza gets, plus the ability to actually create like a Delta Stream or something that actually reduces one of its weaknesses. For example, it protects all flying type Pokemon from their weaknesses. That's a huge bonus to flying type Pokemon, because one of the biggest things that all dragon types and all flying types fear are rock type moves, and let's see, flying type, or not flying type moves, but rock type moves, ice type moves, I think electric type moves. So Pokemon that suffer from those weaknesses, which are pretty much all the flying types with exception to maybe like 1, 2, but they all are protected from that, and you don't get another ability like that in the game. You don't have another ability like that besides like the primal Pokemon, and all they do is set up the standard weathers of sun and rain, and they just keep it going. And for the Ubers clause, for the Ubers format, it turns out I had these misconception of the tiers very wrong. I thought Ubers meant you can only use Uber Pokemon in Ubers format, but no, it turns out as you go through each of the clauses, each of the tiers, starting from PU all the way to Uber, it turns out that as long as you play in that certain format, then you can use any Pokemon from the previous tiers all the way up to that tier, but you can't use Pokemon from the tier above it. So with Ubers, you can bring any Pokemon in except Mega Rayquaza and the aforementioned, banned from all tiers, Swagger, one-hit KO moves, and the ability Moody. So that's what got me thinking about Smogon. So after learning a bit more about Smogon, I started to understand, but I still do not agree with some of the things. But that also got me thinking about VGC, my own format that I prefer to battle by, or at least try to battle competitively, and that is the VGC format. When VGC goes into effect, and when you actually play competitively at the VGC level, you can bring any Pokemon allowed as long as 1, they are hatched in game, or caught in game, or received from an event, or etc. And you're not allowed to use any of the restricted legendary Pokemon. So you can't bring your Mewtwo's, you can't bring your Mews, you can't bring your Reshirams, you can't bring those box art legends. Rest in peace, my Reshiram. I wish I could bring you into battle, but I can't. You can bring any other Pokemon though. You can bring them all in, and it's pretty much anything goes, whatever you want. You just can't use those. You just can't use the restricted legendaries. You can't use 2 of the same Pokemon, and you can't use 2 of the same item on the team. On the team. So that's pretty much VGC in a nutshell. It was simplified for a competitive level, and you can't bring in certain Pokemon. Oh, yeah, I also forgot. You can't also bring Ash Greninja into the battle. And as for the Pokemon with regional variants, it even says either form may be used. You can bring in any Pokemon you want, as long as it is, you know, one of these sets of Pokemon. So for Generation 1, it goes up to from 1 to 149. So obviously that means no Mew and Mewtwo. So same thing for Johto, I can see here. This obviously includes like I believe it's the Lugia and Ho-Oh. You can't bring Lugia and Ho-Oh in, as well as maybe like Celebi and maybe one of the other Pokemon. But this again, this is VGC. You can bring pretty much anything, as long as it can be obtained legally, as long as it can be obtained normally. You can bring it into competition whenever you want. So after thinking of all this stuff, trying to understand everything, I have to say that while I still don't want to strictly follow Smogon, I also can understand why people would not want to follow VGC, because you may come up against that one person who runs like the most cancerous moveset imaginable. Like for example, I believe there was one of my tacticians who ran a double teaming Tauros, or not double teaming Tauros. Oh no. This reminds me of the battle tree. This is the Toxic Cresselia with double team and Moonlight. Nobody wants to run up against that thing. Nobody wants to run up against that Cresselia. Just constantly avoiding your attacks and just stalling you out and waiting for you to go down. Nobody wants to run up against that, which is probably why people also don't allow evasion moves in Smogon as well. So that's another reason why people, you know, they try to make it as fair, as balanced as possible, but at the same time they do kill a lot of things that people actually like. I mean, what's wrong with people running an Ash Greninja? I mean, I myself don't like Pokemon like, say, for example, the Landorus. I don't like Landorus, but I'll still allow people to run as many Landorus as I want in my battles, and I think that's why I have my own personal battle philosophy. I let people bring whatever they want. I'll even bring whatever I want, and my only condition is that people have fun. So if people want to have fun with their toxic stalling Cresselias with Double Team and Moonlight, well, they can go ahead and have their fun with that toxic stalling double teaming Cresselia. I mean, I myself am gonna regret every second of it, but I'm still gonna love the battle regardless. So in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and me trying to explain how I tried to understand Smogon philosophies and VGC philosophies and trying to put them together in a video, and I think failing epically. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I wasn't able to upload for the last couple of days. I'll try to resume uploading schedule normally. But until then, I am Imperator Davis, your Fedora. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.